Hi everyone, welcome back. In this module we're going to be covering off the day-to-day tasks which you may face once the VPN has been set up. We're going to cover the following topics. We're going to discuss how to set up a VM in Azure and make sure it's in the correct network. Then we're going to test our connectivity with a couple of basic tests. Then we'll cover some ways in which you can keep an eye on things and diagnose problems when things don't work. So let's start with building the Azure virtual machines. Since we have created the VPN, it's probably a good idea to make use of it, and the easiest way to do this is to deploy some virtual machines, and in the next demo I'll be showing you how to put your new virtual machine into the network we've just created. This is also the easiest way for me to show you that it all works, so let's get on to the demo. Welcome to this demo about creating Azure VMs. In this demo I'll show you how to set up virtual machines in Azure and ensure that they go into the virtual network we created. It's pretty basic stuff, so let's get started. On the left menu we want to click on Virtual Machines. Then we want to create a new virtual machine. From the menu we want to select From Gallery. This gives us more control over the server's configuration. Next we want to choose an operating system. I just went with Server 2012 R2 and click Next. Now we need to give our server a name. This needs to be unique as it forms part of a larger pool of DNS names which other people may be using. So calling your server Server1 will not work because someone else is probably using that. Next we can select how powerful we want the server to be. Since this is a demo, I just left it as the default A1 and went on to giving the server a username and password. Then I hit Next. Now this is a screen we want to pay attention to. To make sure our server goes into our virtual network, we need to change the location from West Europe to the name of our virtual network, which in our case is called Azure Network. It's at the top of the list. Once this is done, we can hit Next and then OK. The provisioning took about 20 minutes, but I have edited this so we don't have to sit through it. We have just provisioned a virtual machine in our new network. Pretty easy, isn't it? Next we'll be looking at how we can test connectivity. So in the last demo we created a virtual machine. We are now going to use this virtual machine to test that our VPN is working as it should from the two sites that we have. These tests are just some basic network connectivity tests, and I thought it would be more interesting to show you them in action. So this is what we'll be doing in the next demo. The demo will cover ping tests and establishing a remote desktop connection across the VPN. Now on to the demo. Welcome to this demo about testing our connectivity. Here we'll go over some basic connectivity tests. We're starting off on our Seattle RAS server, and I have a remote desktop connection open to our virtual machine in Azure. I'm connected using the public address of the virtual machine. First I'm going to perform a ping from the Azure VM to the Seattle RAS server. As you can see, we are getting replies, so we know that connectivity is there. Next I'm going to minimize the Azure VM remote desktop window and do a ping from the Seattle RAS server to the Azure VM using its private IP address 172.16.04. We can see that this is also working, which means the traffic for the 172.16.00 network is being routed across the VPN. Now we're back in the Azure VM, and I'll do an IP config to show you the private address is indeed 172.16.04. Next I'll do a ping from the Azure VM to the Wellington RAS server. That is also working, so we're looking good here. Now we're back on the Seattle RAS server, and I'm going to close the remote desktop connection to the Azure VM, then establish a new one using the private IP address of the VM, and we'll be able to connect to our old session. Sometimes you may find that ping won't work, as it is typically blocked on firewalls, so using something like remote desktop to test for connectivity is another option provided remote desktop is enabled on the server. Next we're going to look into how we can monitor and troubleshoot VPNs. When things break, it's often a time-consuming process to figure out why. When I was diagnosing issues with RAS, I couldn't find a lot of information out there about troubleshooting, so I've decided to share with you the main methods that I used. All of these tools are based in our on-premises environment, as the Azure portal does not contain much in the way of diagnosing issues. It does, however, allow you to view the connection status of your VPNs remotely with a web browser, which is good for those who do a lot of remote work. The tools I've found myself using are the following. Routing and remote access. This is the same program which operates the VPN. It has some basic statistics and statuses of the VPN, but doesn't offer much else in terms of identifying problems which may go wrong. I found that Event Viewer was the best for providing a good list of messages, which aided me in fixing the problems I encountered while making this course. If you've used Event Viewer before, you'll know all about it. When working with RAS, it's no different from using Event Viewer to diagnose other server or PC related issues. I also stumbled across a program called LogParser. This program is rather good. It's a little difficult to use at first, but once you understand it, it's a powerful tool to have. It basically digs into Event Viewer and allows you to write queries which are very similar to SQL. This tool may not be particularly useful on a day-to-day fault-finding mission, but will make up for that once you start to write scripts with it. For instance, you could write a script to do a daily health check based on messages in the event log. You'll need to download the tool as it isn't part of Windows. Let's take a look at the demo which shows these tools in action. Welcome to this demo about monitoring the VPN. We'll be covering off the tools which I just mentioned, so let's get started. The first tool we'll look at is routing and remote access. To access this tool, we need to open it via Server Manager. This is done by selecting Tools and then Routing and Remote Access. The first option we have is to see if the VPN is connected by going into Network Interfaces. In our case, we can see the status of our VPN is connected. If it was disconnected, we would see the status next to the IP address as disconnected. We can also get some statistics about the VPN by expanding IPv4 and right-clicking General and selecting Show TCP IP Information. Here we can see what our VPN has been up to. If you look carefully, you'll be able to see that under TCP connect attempts failed, we have the number 5. This tells us that there were 5 attempts to connect which failed. Next, we'll take a look at the Event Viewer. So we'll open it up and then browse to System and then create a filter. Under Event Sources, tick Remote Access from the drop-down menu and then OK. Here you'll be able to see any errors which may have occurred. The ones you're looking at now are the result of when I was setting up the demo environment, as things weren't working due to the pre-shared key being wrong. Now we're going to look at LogParser. LogParser is something you need to download and install as it doesn't come with Windows. The command I'm going to run is logparser.exe-i:evt-o::nat and in quotes, select event ID, time generated, strings from system where source name equals remote access. What it is doing is pulling all the information from the Event Viewer out. This makes a good tool for automating certain monitoring tasks. The final tool is the Azure Portal. Currently it does not offer much in the way of monitoring, but is a handy tool if you want to check up on your VPN while you're away from your desk. Here we can see that both VPNs are connected and how much traffic has crossed them. It also shows us what servers are participating in our virtual network. This brings us to the end of the series. I hope you all now have an understanding of multi-site VPNs and how they function in Azure. Thank you all for watching.